Well, I hope you're happy. Now, we did that one already. My little inside joke. What's that, bro?
What? What did I do? What did I do?
Yeah, you know what you did. You know what you did. That's another thing. That's another one of my little nasty techniques is to say to somebody, I know what you did.
You know it. You know what you did.
I know what you did. Then they're like, then they look inside to all the stuff they're guilty about. They feel guilty about.
Which thing is he talking
Just
about,
say to
huh?
someone, I know what you did. I know, and look him in the eye. I know what you did. How you doing, bro?
Good. How are you?
Great. Hey, man. Hey, I congratulate us because, all right, we did the first podcast a week and a half ago. Then last week, we got through our first week. We do this 3 times a week. Last week was our first complete week. This is now actually week 3, but week 2, whichever you want to look at it. But this is podcast number 5 for us. Yeah.
Number 5.
Awesome. I'm loving it. And we're getting some really good feedback, too.
Yep.
Right along. By the way, who are we? Tommy and I are very close friends. We were out of touch for quite a while. Then we came back together, and then I said, get on Facebook. He got on Facebook. I was doing live videos. Tommy said, live videos? Let's make podcasts, dude.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. We're making podcasts now, man. We're very into achievement, self-help, Zen, Buddhism, all positive stuff, all stuff about evolution and enlightenment. And
yes.
On that note, I will read today's daily passage drawn from this obsolete calendar, but the knowledge is as applicable as ever. Okay. This is from, by the way, this calendar is from 1999. Knowledge is timeless. Okay. So pick it. Nice.
Turn of the century.
Nice picture of some mountain climbers. Okay.
Nothing.
Not working. Okay. Some mountain climbers. Right. There you go.
Yeah.
And there's more stuff that I had written on it. You know, I write stuff. I make use of things. What is this? I wrote down, I don't know what the context is. I wrote down acceptance, gain, fun, attitude, PMA, positive mental attitude.
PMA.
That's what about challenges and this other code. I don't know what, there was some system I was doing. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so this is what the daily passage says. Nothing is so difficult that it cannot be accomplished by diligence. Wow, that's great. And it's by somebody. And who's it by? By Terence.
Just Terence?
Yeah, that's it. Just that one name.
Terence.
Terence
McKenna.
I'm right now. I'll give you an example. Right now, I've been working on something, a virtual coaching program over 6 years. It's ready right now. Marketing is the bottleneck right now while we haven't launched it yet. It's going to launch imminently. And it was a huge undertaking. And typically with a tech start, I have a tech startup company called Auxilium. And typically when a tech startup, wants to bring a product, develop a product or bring it to market, it's typically something like this, $500,000 or more. And they go and they get the investors, right? I didn't want to go that route. I needed investing, certainly, but I didn't want to go that route because you're so beholden to the investors. So by sacrificing the time, but I said we could do it going another route. And it's taken more time, and we're sticking with it. I have a partner, I had an investor, now we're gonna crowdfund. But it was a huge undertaking. You could easily just like say, wow, this thing is too big in the first place and not even go there because, who am I? I've never done anything like that. Or you can, be daunted by the size of it and say, let me just go get investors so that the size of it can be diminished, if you will, by, these investments, as opposed to what the route that I went. Well, no, we're going to handle it. We're going to tackle it little by little, and that's what we've done. DIY, you chunk it down. DIY is great, but you got to, everything has pros and cons, and you make there's a cost. I gave up time to keep control. I could have, if I wanted to have, wanted the time more, I could have given away control, and profit still. You know, that's that they're enmeshed, they're in hand. But you see something, you believe in it, right? And you decide that if you're going to go for it or not. And if you go for it, you've got to really go for it, because if you don't, you'll get to a certain point and you'll be like, that's it, I'm done, I'm quitting. I gave an effort, I spent enough money, and then it's over when you give up.
Yeah.
And things are freaking hard to accomplish, man. Especially the bigger the thing, right? But if you don't give up, you're in the game. Of course, you could run out of steam, and then where are you? Well, then you better just get some more steam, but quick. otherwise then things will rust solid, and you won't even move. So you got to revitalize soon. But it all can be done if you believe at it, if you keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you take a small break, don't make it more than a small break.
Effort is an effort until it hurts.
Ooh, I read that the other day on our Facebook Live, Tommy, and it just hit me, man. That's it. So let's all keep that in mind. Nothing is so difficult that it cannot be accomplished by diligence. And diligence is the real key thing. The more diligent I am, the better results I get. It's just that simple. And that's something I've really been challenged in my life, is being diligent, because that may be the hardest thing for me to do, to be focused or to do something daily or consistently. But I have a feeling that if I do that, I'm going to get much better results than I've gotten, because I do a lot of stuff, but not as diligent as it could or should be, or as productive or as focused. And I got good results. I imagine how much better it would be if I'm diligent. What's the price? Some comfort. Yeah. That's where it's at. I've got to, this is the challenge that I have, is to get more into that discomfort zone, so I can be more diligent. I know this about me, but the old adage is easier said than done. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I never mentioned the word easy, right? It's difficult, but it can be done. But by the way, I'm burning it right now for those who are listening. Burn it into your psyche, right? That this can be done. We can be diligent, and we can accomplish anything. But we have to believe in it. We can't give up. Okay. All right. That's the first part of our podcast. Tommy, you were talking about some stuff about the dark psyche earlier.
I was.
You want to go into that? This is interesting stuff to me. Tommy was like, I'm not sure about this content. I'm like, but I think this is really good content, because I'm a searcher, and so is Tommy. And a lot of people are searchers. We want to find answers. We're looking for the truth, which is very difficult to even glimpse. And you can turn over a lot of areas that are unrewarding or just dead ends, or just like you judge that this is not useful. But some areas may be worse than all of that. They may be disturbing to your psyche. We've mentioned this in a previous podcast. I called it negative knowledge. You can call it that. You can call it dark psyche. But there are things that you can learn about that will disturb you in the moment, and then worse, haunt you subsequently. And Tommy was talking about some things like that, and that he was just checking out recently. Want to talk about that, Tom?
Yeah, sure. And I'll even get into my history just briefly. Is that I've loved horror movies my whole life, and I'll still watch them. I still like the thrill that comes with a good production and a good scare. But even going beyond movies, I got interested in. I didn't practice any of this stuff, but like witchcraft and black magic and things like that. And I've also experienced some things in my past, night terrors, nightmares, terrible nightmares and night terrors. But I got even more interested in all this stuff.
When you had night terrors, did you wake up and feel paralyzed, or dream that you woke up feeling paralyzed?
Yeah. The same thing, the hands in the night, the old hag, these are if you Google those, you might even identify with it. It's 10 minutes right there.
Yeah, we're 10 minutes in. By the way, I remember I had I had night terrors or nightmares, and that I remember waking up, and there was a dark figure standing over me, and I was paralyzed. I couldn't wait. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And I remember screaming, and I told my then girlfriend about it, my then living girlfriend. She's like, "Oh, that was real," but then I researched more into it, and it's like, you know what? That wasn't real. That wasn't a real ghost. That was just me having a nightmare. It was so vivid to me that it seemed like I really experienced that, me waking up with this dark figure over me, being paralyzed.
Yeah.
It was actually just my nightmare.
Yeah. It's like a sort of sleep paralysis, they call it too. And there seemed to be like this dark entity over me, almost with its hands around my throat, screaming in my face.
Yeah, what about it?
And then it felt like the screaming was in my head.
I'm saying I experienced that, but it was only a nightmare. It was only in my head. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Same thing here.
It wasn't real.
Yeah, and there's nothing there. So,
well,
in this.
Hey, by the way, are we dreaming this right now? How do we know that this is not a dream?
Yeah.
All right. Could be. Could be you're dreaming this. I could be in your dream right now.
We're definitely dreaming this.
This could be the collective dream, man.
Yeah, waking up from a dream.
Are we in the Matrix?
For sure.
Maybe we're in the Matrix.
So I went through all of these, like I looked through different cultures and traditions, like in the Judeo-Christian world. We have Lucifer, Satan, and I looked in the Buddhist, Hindu tradition. They call demons Asuras, 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 and it's like everything, there's light and dark. Everything has its dark side. And I wondered what is it about? Like, I watched certain movies about sacrifices and secret societies and cabals and stuff, and I'm like, well, what is the link between all this stuff? And I found out that these groups or these people want influence over the material world. These religions, like Luciferianism and stuff, they're religions of the flesh, not the spirit. And these spells or these rituals they do, whether it's even like voodoo, these are all things like to either these curses and stuff. Like, they want some kind of opulence in the material world, or some kind of control over the material world, or someone's body or spirit. So it was just, and I went deeper down the YouTube rabbit hole until I said to myself, this isn't making me feel good. This is just,
that's a great signal.
Yeah. And
your feelings are signals. Pay attention to them.
I'll still do it every now and then, but if I'm doing, like, going into my third day and I can see my YouTube stream is all demonic possessions and voodoo rituals, then you know what? It's time to start watching something else.
Yes, I hear you loud and clear. We've talked about this. I used to watch a lot of horror movies when I was a child, and I come to regret it because they disturbed me afterwards. I had nightmares, and I had they entered into my imagination, and they troubled me, for my whole life later. And then I gained greater maturity and understanding where I'm able to keep them in perspective. But in my past, I wish that I never did that. Now I stopped wishing for I never wish anymore. I used to call myself Wishman. I always found myself wishing.
Wishman.
Wish for this, wish for that. But then I realized that was, it was an anti-experience, wishing. I wish for something because I don't have it. And not having it was an experience of non-having, right? And I wanted the experience, but I got the opposite. Which is the non-experience, the desiring of the experience. And it also, it's disempowering. If I'm wishing for something, it's because I don't believe I can get it. I can really get it, so I just wish that some genie will blink it and there it is for me, instead of, deciding to get it and then, taking action and earning it. which can be had. So I stopped wishing long ago, early in my recovery. Well, there's 3 points I want to make. You know, we're talking about the dark psyche, and I was able to see things in perspective that, you know, they're just information that's disturbing, and I can compartmentalize it or just see it for what it is and not let it disturb me, but see it as disturbing information that I do not let disturb me, because I disarm it. But I used to call myself Wishman because I felt so inadequate, and that I wasn't able to, that I wasn't enough, or that I could accomplish these things. And these all play part or a part in my of my recovery. You know, I've mentioned here before, you know, I am a recovered drug addict. Next month is going to be 20 years clean and sober for me. And
wow, that's amazing.
Thank you. And that is it's, in some ways it's amazing. In some ways it's, you know, just the right thing. It's just living life the right way. And I want to talk about karma, because karma is, you could call karma recovery from addiction. You could call it a number of other things. Karma is more in the news today than typically, because of people attributing bad karma to President Trump for getting infected, but really those people are just inflicting bad karma upon themselves. I'm not defending Trump. I'm just talking about karma. They think that they can make others feel bad, judge they think that they can get others to judge President Trump that he has bad karma because they declare it. But by doing so, they're only bringing bad karma on themselves, because karma cannot be wielded like that by anyone. It's not for you to say, what is the obvious actions of bad karma. Because you don't know what karma is. Karma is constantly going on, and it's going on simply by energy. And I wanted to talk about, when I was in my early recovery, right, recovery from addiction, and one of the things I learned about recovery is just simply about doing the next right thing. The next right thing. What is the next right thing? Whatever you're faced with, you have a choice between, the wrong and the right. Call it that, right? And it's just doing the next right thing. And I remember early in my recovery, I grew up in Brooklyn and Staten Island, really more Staten Island, right? In my adolescence and young adulthood. And Bay Street was the happening place in Staten Island. And my favorite bar, the Red Spot, was on Bay Street. It was great. I was a punk rocker, but this was a new wave bar. The jukebox had both the Bee Gees and the Sex Pistols. That's the kind of bar this was. It was awesome. It had all the most diverse, clientele. It was awesome, man. I loved it. Well, they had a reunion, like 2003 or something. I went to this reunion, and at this reunion was this gorgeous woman, a 10. To me, a 10. She was a perfect woman. She was married, right? Talking to me, I never met her before. She was like, "Tony, you're the man. Let's go, me and you." When she told me she was married, I was like, "Oh my God, I want to be with this woman more than anything." Especially talking about issues I've had of inadequacy. Now I'm got a perfect 10. Finally a 10 tells me that I'm the guy. Let's go. I had to tell her no, and man, I'm not gonna say it hurt, because it didn't hurt, but man, it was hard to say. It was hard to do no. But I gotta tell you, by saying no to her, it was one of the greatest spurts of growth that I had personally, and wonderful karma I had right there. Because if I would have went with this woman married, the negative karma I'm creating is certainly I'm disregarding her husband, right? I'm disregarding her relationship, which was made by vows, right? That's what marriage is, right? And I'm disregarding my own actions. So I'm disregarding all that stuff. That's energy. That is energy. All right. It's not just about there's a lot of facets to karma, but you can just call it's just lack of consideration is what I'm talking about here, and that is perhaps the biggest part of karma that people miss. That we need to have consideration. So okay, we're now at 20 minutes in. Thank you. We try to keep this podcast to around 30 minutes. But I did that and I felt so good. And then there are subsequent, and it really helped me in my recovery. And there were subsequent times that were just similar, where a married woman wanted to hook up with me. And I'm not judging them, but I'm not being condescending, Yeah, I have been, and before that, I was with a married woman once, and I wound up hiding in a closet. I swore I would never do that again. I was a young soldier.
Oh boy!
Oh my God! Oh my God! The husband's friend walked.
The guy's husband.
No, I mean not the guy's husband. This is before those days. The husband's friend walked into the house. And I hid in a closet. I was like 20 years old, 19 years old.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And I wound up, I was waiting in there like 10 minutes. Like, that's it. I came out and the guy had his chin dropped. And I said, hey, how you doing? And I walked out. And I was her neighbor. And I don't even remember what happened. That's how it was just so awful. And I was like,
wow.
I would never hide in the closet.
Karma.
Again. Yeah, that was bad karma, right? So karma is a perpetual thing. So I seek to do the next right thing. It wasn't just that I would never, that's it. I would never hook up with a married person again. I had to get into I had to take more definitive things, definitive steps. Yeah, I didn't say that to myself, but basically I was a man whose word was worthless. I had to really work on making my word mean something. If a man says something to you, and this is a man whose word is worthless, what he said to you is worthless. Right? Until he's a man of his word, then his word has value. And that
it's like a lie. It's like a liar saying, "I'm not lying."
Right. I had to become a man whose word had value, but for me to have my words mean things, as opposed to just being sounds coming out of my mouth. That had some sort of implication, right, or direction, even if it was a sleight of mouth, if you will, which is a technique, which NLP technique, which I'm not going to get into now. That's not what it is. That's not here. Anyway, so karma is having consideration, and we must consider the things that we want. Because this karma is the energy that we have in ourselves and that we're putting out into the world that comes right back at us. I don't know when. I don't know. That's karma's business, not mine. I'm just looking to have more good karma and much less bad karma. And it's not to say that you can't, there are lines that you don't cross. Because you can like flirt with women, a married woman, that's fine. Although you don't cross a certain line of damaging her marriage, right? Or which is to say you broach some intimacy with her that's going to damage her marriage, all right? Because that is bad karma, because I was not considerate. I was just, a bull in a china shop. You've got to consider what my actions are. What's the consequences of my actions? All right.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's bad karma. That's willful negligence. Just because you didn't think about it doesn't get you off the hook. You must consider these things, because if these things that you don't consider from your actions cause harm to others or harmful, right? And a marriage is a holy bond, right? Or that, if not that, a committed relationship. If you're going to harm that, that's obvious. That's destructive. And similarly, I had, it was on Facebook. I knew this guy. He was supposedly a spiritual guy. I see how he's being very unspiritual politically. And this other guy I knew, he was like something. He's comes out of the punk rock skinhead community. He's pretty much of a dick. And I wanted to be friends with him, but I guess he didn't want to be friends with me, which was fine. I totally accepted. Friends on on an acquaintance level, and I saw that he was kind of dicky to this guy, the supposedly spiritual guy. And I was like, okay, should I be friends with him now? I'm like, nice. I questioned myself, like, why, Tony? You want to be friends with him now because he was a smart aleck to this other guy who's being a hypocrite? I mean, what kind of karma is that? I question, here's the point I'm making. I question my intentions. And when I question my intentions, I said to myself, wow, that's not good karma. I haven't considered this enough, truly. Not just about what could happen, but that was one part. I think about the marriage part, that was about what could happen, right? Now I'm talking about the karma that comes from, what are my intentions? What do I want from what I'm doing? Not just on the top level, the deeper level. And what if I want to go a little deeper level than that, right? What do I really want? Because that is important karma. And why is this important? Because I really believe that the more good karma I build up and accrue, the more of a payoff I'm going to have later. I don't know the way karma pays off. You just don't. You can't wield it. You can't partition it, or compartmentalize it. You can't be done. That's just ego. But I do believe that there's going to be, even if like you make sacrifices today, which is awesome to do, and the sacrifices are not deprivation. There's a choice that you make because you're willing to make the choice because of some values or something you want to gain or prevent. But if you keep with it by doing good karma, right? That later on down the road, the reward will be so awesome that you'll say, you know what, these so-called sacrifices, this mindfulness, of watching my intention was all worth it. It was all worth it. I really believe that's going to happen. All right. And
Definitely.
if it doesn't, I'm gonna turn to the dark side, and I'm gonna blow up the world.
Yeah, you definitely reap what you sow. You definitely reap what you sow.
Do you remember
and
that?
Yeah,
go on.
Huh? I was gonna say, advice for karma is the same great advice for recovering from addiction. Just do the next right thing.
Next right thing. That's where it's at. Okay, hey, let's get to our segment. If you don't know, what we do here is we learn and study the Tao Te Ching. We read a passage from it in every podcast, and we discuss it briefly. We don't get in detail. We want this podcast to be around the half hour. So Tommy will read passage number 5 today, and then we'll discuss
number 5. Yep.
Okay.
This is
read
passage
it without interruption, and then we'll bring it back and we'll break it down. Go on.
Yeah. Passage number 5 of the Tao Te Ching. Heaven and earth is not sentimental. It treats all things as straw dogs. The sage is not sentimental. He treats all his people as straw dogs. Between heaven and earth, there seems to be a bellows. It is empty, and yet it is inexhaustible. The more it works, the more comes out of it. No amount of words can fathom it. Better look for it within you. That's it.
Wow, man. We talk about this in other ways a lot. We talk about the laws of success, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And this is the same thing. Well, I talk about my deity, my God is indifferent in terms of our suffering when we are ignorant and arrogant to the laws. But God, if you will, is benevolent and wants us not to suffer, but we have to learn and accept the laws and abide by them, and we can have so much more joy in our life if we do. And I say that in the most non-religious way possible. What he talked about is the same thing. Straw dog God. God's indifferent to our bullshit, to our pleas. I believe in prayer, but I believe.
I was just going to bring that up. I have a very hard time with prayer because God is indifferent.
Yes. Well, here's my thing, though. I believe that prayer requires action. and it's like a pre-action. It's like a meditation for action. Meditation is a non-thought. Prayer is a thought that precedes action. Fantastic. If you're praying, then you must follow it up with action. Some action, not just that God's going to fix things for you, because he, she, they, it ain't. It's up to you to learn and to accept and learn. And the more we get busy, talk about the bellows. I think bellows he meant by things that fire a furnace. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And they fire up iron so they can melt. They can shape it. And so you've got to. The more work you'll do, the more productive you will be, and the more you'll get out of it.
Right.
And whether it be good work or bad work, that's up to us.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to say one more thing about prayer, though, is that it's kind of strange, because I believe that people's prayers for me have kept me alive, which might sound weird when I say that. I pray for if I was to pray for something for myself, I would feel as if, like, God, because my God is impersonal. My God is indifferent. It's this unfathomable. It's so complex that, like, it doesn't even understand language. It's an energy of life, and but then when I think of how others have sent me well wishes or positive energy in the form of prayer, I feel it saved my life. So I'm kind of conflicted,
Well, we don't know, do we? It's an invisible force. But when it comes to praying for myself, I strive just to have gratitude, or pray for strength to endure. Even though sometimes in moments of great vulnerability or perhaps weakness, like when someone is sick or suffering, and I don't want them to, I want them to, improve and, become well or not die, or, then sometimes I pray that, God, don't let them die, but then I strive to get away from that, because I think I don't think I can tell God what to do.
Not at all.
I think that, I strive to have the former, just have the strength, but sometimes I just, I just feel like, I'm like, fuck the strength, man. I just don't want him or her to die. I don't want him or her to suffer. Sometimes I do both, but if you have faith, that's like half the battle, because even when things don't go away, and there are going to be lots of that, you can reconcile or pick up the pieces or dust yourself off, because that's a critical part of life, is getting back up, and when you get hurt, just making room for the pain, as opposed to being destroyed by it. Some people allow themselves to be destroyed by the pain, that's that, and that was the fatal mistake. You can't allow yourself to be destroyed by the pain of life, because life is very painful. Life is a tragic affair. But the trick, I remember this. I had this counselor. The one time in my life, I said, "How are we doing on time, by the way?"
Well, we're just we're at like 33 minutes right now.
I had a counselor. At one time, I went for therapy. I had this romance, and then broke up, and I was obsessed by the woman. That's why I learned how I learned not to obsess, which was to remember things as the way they happened, as opposed to fantasizing. I learned that on my own. But seeking this counselors, I was bringing Narcotics Anonymous meetings up to the VA hospital in Brooklyn, up to the 15 West, and she was in charge of it. She was a counselor. She saw I was troubled. She says, "Why don't you come see me?" I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And I said, "Okay, I'm heartbroken about this woman, and I'm obsessing about it." And I found in my own recovery and my own learning that obsessing was my way of not feeling this heartbreak that I had. Okay, basically, addicts have two ways not to feel: taking drugs, right, which is a physical numbing, or obsessing, which is a emotional numbing, a psychic numbing, not to feel. You know, so you don't feel what's feeling. You just go in this loop, this mental loop, right? Um, but this counselor's advice to me about the pain was that I just had to make room for it. He says, Tony, you just got to make room for the pain. And I never forgot that because it was so profound. And life is a painful affair, and you just got to make room for the pain, because if you don't, you can get bowled over by pain. You can become so depressed that you're just a basket case, or worse, suicidal. And that's if you get bowled by if you allow pain to overcome you.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is that if you do that, you're really just being selfish. And I don't say that to judge you. I say that to explain that there's much more to life than your feelings about something.
Absolutely.
Right? Much more to life than how, oh my God, I'm so sad and depressed by it. Yeah, I know. And guess what? There's a lot more going on in this world than your feelings about something. All right? So go ahead and feel that pain. Go ahead and feel it. Cry your eyes off. Cry a fucking river for a week.
Yeah.
But get up, dust yourself off, and get back to work. All right? Life is for the living. And you'll be called. The Grim Reaper will come for you soon enough. All right?
Yeah.
And when he comes, there's nothing you could do. Until then, let's move on. Let's make a dent in this world. Everyone.
When the Grim Reaper comes for you, meet him with song. Break out in song.
There you go, man. There you go. Blue Oyster Cult. Don't fear the Reaper, which I'm going to use in the movie. Mark my words.
Nice.
All right, Tommy. Another great podcast, man. We covered some really great stuff. Thank you, sir. Awesome, man.
Yes,
That's my
thank
partner
you.
right there, Tommy Boston. All right, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Please subscribe to our podcast if you haven't done already, and we also go on Facebook Live in the mornings too. Look for us on the One Truth Facebook page. That gets posted after the fact. We have to make a group. This is why we have to make a One Truth group, because if I share to it, people can watch us live. They can't do that with the page. They can only do it. That's why we're gonna get started on that immediately. Okay, that's okay. All right, guys. See you next time. Tommy, awesome. You're the man. Love you, bro.
You too, bro. Love you. Bye, everyone.